Okay, we are streaming live.
So Joe, is this completely on Zoom now? What's with the schizophrenic meetings?
I think the president said we're on Zoom through the end of February and then we'll revisit.
Okay.
We're hoping that
Am I misquoting you, Mr. President?
my goal and I hope that we can resume in person, up to meet in person in City Hall, especially in March, first meetings of March, maybe even late February, that we could resume in person either at Government Center.
Thank you.
To my knowledge, City Hall is still currently closed to the public. So. Mr. Waddick, it is 7:30 p.m. Are you ready, Mr. Clerk? For the
I am ready, Mr. President.
Waltham City Council come to order remotely on Monday evening, January 25th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Clerk, call the roll.
George A. Darcy III,
Present.
Karen Dunn,
Present.
Sean T. Durkee,
Present.
Kathy Ann Harris,
Present.
Joseph P. LaCava,
Present.
Anthony LaFosse,
Present.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Present.
Christine A. Mackin,
Present.
John J. McLaughlin,
Present.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Sorry, present.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Present.
Jonathan Paz,
Present.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Present.
Carlos A. Vidal,
Present.
President Paul J. Brasco,
Present.
15 present, no absent.
All members of the City Council just called by the clerk and answering present are participating in this City Council meeting remotely. Would all rise for the council prayer?
Almighty God, we ask thy guidance in all our deliberations. Please remain standing while the City Council President leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag,
United States,
States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
Which it stands,
one nation,
under
God,
under God,
indivisible,
Indivisible,
liberty, justice.
justice for all.
Please remain standing. Councilor Durkee, if you would mind offering this moment of silence for our troops.
I would ask for a moment of silence for all our troops serving in Afghanistan and Iraq and all over the world supporting them, especially for those that have given the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom.
Please be seated, everyone. This meeting is being transmitted live on the City of Waltham YouTube channel and on Waltham Community Access Corporation MAC channel, channel 43 for Verizon subscribers, channel 98 for Comcast subscribers, and channel 15 for the RCN subscribers. All votes taken this evening will be taken remote and must be taken by a vote of all of the roll. Wish of the committee, wish of the City Council with regards to the approval of minutes for the meeting of January 11th, 2020.
Move approval.
Council McLaughlin makes a motion for approval. On the motion for approval, roll call is required.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris, Kathy Ann Harris, Joseph P. LaCava,
Yes.
Anthony
Sorry, I'm
La-
trying to get off mute. Yes. Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava,
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes,
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
yes.
Carlos A. Vidal,
Yes.
14 in favor, none opposed.
By your action, you approve the minutes of January 11th, 2021. With regards to the meetings of the minutes of the special meeting of January 19th, 2021, wish of the city council.
Move approval.
Council McLaughlin makes a motion for approval. On the motion for approval, roll call.
George A. Darcy III.
Yes.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava.
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse.
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin.
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin.
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin.
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien.
Yes.
Jonathan Paz.
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley.
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal.
Yes.
14 in favor.
By your action, you approve the special meeting minutes of January the 19th. Clerk, continue with communications from the mayor.
The mayor respectfully submits a communication regarding the appraisal of the armory.
Refer to the long-term debt and capital planning committee.
Applications and licenses.
Refer to the license and franchise committee.
Orders, ordinances, and resolutions. We have a few resolutions, Mr. President.
The
First
clerk would read the first resolution.
Resolution on realistic affordable housing, and this resolution is accompanied by a proposed ordinance amendment. Whereas there is currently a housing crisis in the city of Waltham, and whereas the Waltham City Council recently increased the inclusionary zoning percentage to 20% for affordable housing developments, and whereas the area median income percentages determine the actual affordability of new housing units, and whereas the AMI specifications in our inclusionary zoning code do not reflect the economic need for affordable housing provisions, and whereas more affordable housing units need to be created, now therefore be it resolved that the Waltham City Council investigate the creation of a new ordinance that provides realistic affordable housing that is attainable for the individuals at or below 50% of the area median income rather than 80%, while specifying ordinance language for more affordable units to be built. Respectfully submitted, Jonathan Paz, Councilor Ward 9.
Council Paz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Over the course of the past legislative year, the City Council has embarked on two major initiatives to promote affordable housing. One of them has been emergency tenant assistance. The other one has been by a remarkable effort from Madam Vice President and Councilor Darcy to increase our inclusionary zoning to 20%. For those who don't know, inclusionary zoning is how we require developers to build in the city. We now require 20% of units above a certain amount to be dedicated to affordable housing. But as most things, the devil's really in the details. AMI, which is currently area medium income, is at 1/3, 50% of area medium income, and then the 2/3 remaining is at 80% area medium income. And as we've seen with previous developments that have gotten special permits, 80% area medium income is not necessarily a realistic determination of affordable housing. We need to, I think, complete this initial systemic transformation of our inclusionary zoning to make sure that all of the affordable housing units are determined at an affordable rate, which I believe could be at 50%. That's really the sense of this ordinance. It's really straightforward. I attached some of the existing language for everyone's convenience. I hope that we're able to expeditiously address this, as there is a real existing affordable housing crisis in the city. And if anything, if my 1 year in this council has taught me anything, is that affordable housing is really at the heart of economic and social stability in the city. So I appreciate any and all support, and I look forward to a productive conversation. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor, I would be referring to this because it's an ordinance change with the accompanying ordinance change to the Ordinance and Rules Committee. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, matter is referred to the Ordinance and Rules Committee. Clerk, continue with the next resolution.
Resolution creating affordable housing, whereas the city is in need of affordable housing, whereas we have approved for stopgap measures to help subsidize rents, and whereas home ownership creates pride in our community. Now therefore, be it resolved that the city identify potential properties to purchase using community preservation or affordable housing trust funding in order to place permanent deed restrictions on said properties as affordable housing and sell the properties to qualifying families. Respectfully submitted, Randall J. LeBlanc, Councilor at Large, Patrick J. O'Brien, Councilor at Large, Thomas M. Stanley, Councilor at Large, Carlos A. Vidal, Councilor at Large, Kathy Ann Harris, Councilor Ward 8, Sean T. Durkee, Councilor Ward 6, Karen Dunn, Councilor Ward 2.
Council Blank, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Basically, it says it all, and I'm kind of happy to see that a few more resolutions for affordable housing came in. We all know the need for affordable housing, and this one here is a little bit different. And what happens is if the city were to purchase say a condominium for $400,000 and then deed restrict it as, affordable housing at, 75% the median income, they would put $100,000 at it and it would be permanently deed restricted. And then the unit would be purchased. So the person that bought the unit, it would be deed restricted and they would have home ownership in our community, which would help with them be a Pride member and give back to our community. And I would welcome any of the other signers to speak on this. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Blank. Further speakers on this matter?
Mr. President, Councilor LaFosse has asked to be added to this resolution. I did not read his name initially.
Councilor Harris. Councilor Harris.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you to the at-large counselor from Linden Circle who authored this resolution. And I think it is different. This came in, and I really was very interested in it because it allows us to acquire existing properties that would be for sale. We can deed restrict them and possibly look to rent them out, or we could actually get families and homeowners involved, families as homeowners involved in the process of obtaining affordable housing, because home ownership is also part of the picture of affordable housing. I've been on the council 3 years, and I could tell you I've been a giant champion of affordable housing the whole way. It is a complex process with many variables, and it has, I think this allows us to bring additional support for home ownership and or rental assistance by addressing, an existing property that's already built, so there wouldn't be construction costs associated with this. So I think it allows us also to have turnkey ability for affordable housing. And, respectfully, I do think this is a very serious option that needs to be looked at. And I thank the counselor, and I'm glad to see other counselors have signed on as well. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Vidal.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate the opportunity to sign on to the resolution. And I want to thank the Councilor at Large from Linden Circle for reaching out to me by phone and going over this resolution with me. I think that's important to kind of have a dialogue. And one of the biggest things that I've always been talking about to a lot of folks who talk about affordable housing is the home ownership aspect of affordable housing and how a deed restricted property does provide that home ownership mentality. Not only that, but it also provides tax revenue because that property becomes a property that pays taxes on the yearly basis. And that's key because it shows that you are committed to your community. I do believe in this resolution a lot. I'm very happy to see a lot of the other at-large councilors signed on to this, and I hope we are able to move forward with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Vidal. For other speakers? There being none, there are a number of matters, resolutions being referred to the Ordinance and Rules Committee with regard to housing. Councilor Blank, what's your wish with regards to?
Thank you, Mr. President. As this is a real estate matter, I would think committee of the whole would be appropriate.
Okay, for the matter of the committee of the whole.
Thank you.
So continue with the next resolution.
Whereas on Thursday, January 21st, 2020, the MBTA presented to the Waltham Traffic Commission, it was 2021 actually, a plan effectuating multiple bus stops in the city. And whereas this plan included recommendations to relocate certain bus stops, including stops on High Street, Lake Street, Main Street, and Beaver Street, and whereas additional recommendations were made to eliminate certain bus stops on Smith Street, Lincoln Street, and Lake Street, and whereas there were concerns raised at the meeting regarding notification, relocation sites, and the process of how eliminated stops were determined. Now therefore be it resolved that the Waltham City Council invite representatives from the MBTA, their traffic engineering firm, and the city traffic engineer into the committee of the whole to discuss these and any future recommendations. Respectfully submitted, John J. McLaughlin, Councilor Ward 4, Kathleen B. McMenamin, Vice President and at-large City Councilor, Karen Dunn, Councilor Ward 2, Kathy Ann Harris, Councilor Ward 8, Christine A. Mackin, Councilor Ward 7, Patrick J. O'Brien, Councilor at Large, Sean T. Durkee, Councilor Ward 6.
Council McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Clerk, thank you for catching that. I wrote this in about 3 minutes because we were trying to get it out with this week's package. So thanks for catching the year. Councilor Paz is also going to sign on to this. I'm not sure if you mentioned his name. So at the meeting on Thursday, there was an MBTA, a presentation made by representatives from the MBTA about bus stops. And it didn't seem like that complicated a matter, but as they drilled down into it, there were a couple of things going on here. One is they're going to be eliminating bus stops in different parts of the city. In addition to that, they're going to be relocating some bus stops. And the thing that caught my eye initially was specifically on Main Street near at the intersection of Boca Road. They were going to be moving the bus stop from one side of the street, one side of Boca Road to the other side of Boca Road. And closer inspection revealed that they're actually putting the bus stop at the front door of the church, at St. Jude Church. And so, you know, somebody gets married there, the limo pulls up, it's going to have to stop, you know, at the bus stop, literally. You have a funeral there, and if the hearse is out front, they're going to have the hearse literally at the bus stop. So that made me think again about this. And I think I mentioned at the Traffic Commission meeting, there were a number of other councilors there with me, and they agreed that we should have this come in so that we can take a closer look at this. The MBTA representatives also mentioned that this was the first step in a number of changes that were going to be made along bus routes with regard to stops. So although these matters typically go before the Transportation Commission, I thought this was something that we should take a closer look, and they agreed to come in and speak to us. My hope is that this will come into the Committee of the Whole next week. That's it in a nutshell. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Council McLaughlin. Further speakers on the matter, Councilor Harris.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I attended the Traffic Commission this last week, and to be honest with you, I didn't have any matters before it, but I was listening to see what was going on in the city, and I learned several key things that were occurring. The original intention was that the MBTA was going to present only to the Traffic Commission and not present to the council. I think as any councilor, I've had bus stops actually removed in Ward 8 that have absolutely adversely impacted my constituents' ability to be able to get to work, be able to go to school, be able to visit family members, be able to get in and out of Boston, and to be able to get around the city. And it's not a viable alternative for them to take a alternate transportation. They had already purchased a pass for the year to be able to use MBTA services. So I spoke at the Traffic Commission, and I stated that I think every elected member of this body should know where in the city these bus stops are being moved. I think we should ask thoughtful questions about how people are going to be able to get around the city of Waltham, and that we absolutely understand that, because it's going to need to be big communication, and we need to be able to explain to our constituents what their options are. This isn't a small change, and although there was one reference to the stop in front of St. Jude, there are several major bus station changes that will impact all of our constituency. And I thought it was very important that this council deliberate on it. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to the Ward 4 and Ward 2 councilors for also co-authoring this. Thank you.
Councilor, further questions or comments by councilors? There being none, Council McLaughlin, this normally would go to the Economic Community Development Committee, Public Works Safety Committee. You mentioned what committee you wanted this to go to?
I was hoping it would come into the committee of the whole, Mr. President, because this affects at least 5 different wards, I believe, between the elimination and the moves. So I was hoping that we could all be there to ask questions and offer any concerns. The only other thing I wanted to add, Mr. President, is just, the MBTA, and I joked with them about this, I'm happy that they're willing to come in and spend money. This is the title of it is the MBTA Bus Stop Accessibility and Safety Improvement Program. So they're coming into Waltham, they're making improvements at these stops. The problem is some of the location changes and some of the elimination moves is something that I think we as a council should take a look at. But I would ask that it be sent to the committee of the whole.
For the matter of the committee of the whole.
Thank you.
Continue. The next resolution.
Resolution. Whereas housing is an important part of what makes Waltham a strong community and is an essential part of Waltham's future well-being, supplying homes that are affordable for longtime Waltham residents, young families, seniors, veterans, and local workers is an important part of maintaining the stability and diversity of our community. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic crisis have added both new urgency and added difficulty to addressing the housing problems in Waltham. And whereas the ad hoc Committee on Affordable Housing assessed the current status of housing in the city to expand on the city's considerable housing efforts by developing a long-term plan utilizing multiple strategies to achieve effective affordable housing policy to address housing issues now and into the future, and in part to make suggestions for consideration of the mayor and the city council in developing long-term solutions for Waltham. And whereas the city council ought to require developers of large properties to analyze the impact of their projects on fair housing, whether a new housing development alleviates or adds to efforts to build racially and economically integrated neighborhoods, and require large-scale developers to create plans which advance housing accessibility. And whereas large-scale developers in the city ought to be required to assess the impact of their projects will have on housing, discrimination, and displacement, much as they do for traffic or the environment, and crucially, offer solutions to minimize harm and advance fair housing. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the city of Waltham create a new ordinance called Affirmatively Further Fair Housing and require developers of large properties to analyze the impact of their projects on fair housing, whether a new housing development alleviates or adds to efforts to build racially and economically integrated neighborhoods, and require large-scale developers to create plans which advance housing accessibility. Respectfully submitted, Thomas M. Stanley, Councilor at Large.
Councilor Stanley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have 3 resolutions, and I did not have the time to get them out to my colleagues earlier than a few hours ago, so I apologize for that. But as you learn more about the resolutions, you can feel free to add your name to them because each of them are going to require a little bit of time in committee, regardless. And so, with this particular resolution, aside from COVID, really the issue of our times has been, how we deal with segregation and all the issues that come with that, and whether it was dealing with police matters or schooling or housing. And one of the important recommendations that the ad hoc housing committee came up with, that I was fortunate enough to chair, was to strive for racially and economically diverse neighborhoods. Now, back in 1978, the Fair Housing Act was established, and as years went by, it was determined during the Obama administration that housing rules needed to be promulgated to ensure that the legislation was being followed and fair housing accessibility was being achieved. And during the previous administration, those housing rules were rolled back. I imagine they will probably be put back in place with the current administration. But regardless, the city of Boston has recently, very recently adopted, it's supposed to be referred to as affirmatively furthering fair housing ordinance, requiring large developers to do just what the resolution read, to provide for this analysis and a plan to do something about it. You know, we've had a fair number of large developments in the city of Waltham through the years, and I expect that we probably will moving forward into the future. And I just think it's entirely appropriate to, you know, if we can require developers to have, you know, traffic studies done to determine the impact that the development's going to have on traffic, you know, the least we can do is to require them to do an analysis on the impact of the fair housing accessibility and develop a plan to help the city address those policy goals. Now, for committee, I will get the ordinance that the city of Waltham has provided and some other background information. And of course, I'll work with the chairperson and the committee to determine when the best time to discuss the matter would be. But I think it's something that's long overdue. And, you know, we want to pride ourselves in Waltham on being a welcoming community for all. And, you know, the recent COVID and economic crisis has really only created a deeper division throughout our country, our state, so forth, with regards to housing accessibility. So I believe that this enacting such an ordinance would protect Waltham moving forward away from the whims of, you know, presidential politics. So I assume it will be sent to the Ordinance and Rules Committee, and I hope to earn the committee members and the full council's trust and support moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stanley. That was where it was going to be sent. Ordinance and Rules Committee. Resolution will be sent to the Ordinance and Rules Committee. Clerk, continue.
Resolution. Whereas affordable housing is an important part of what makes Waltham a strong community and is an essential part of Waltham's future well-being. Supplying homes that are affordable for long-time Waltham residents, young families, seniors, veterans, and local workers is an important part of maintaining the stability and diversity of our community. And whereas the Housing Choice Bill recently signed by the governor requires municipalities with an MBTA station or a ferry or bus terminal to create at least one district of reasonable size within a half mile of a station where multifamily housing could be built without any special permits. And whereas this measure will lower the percentage of votes required to approve a variety of zoning changes, including to build transit-oriented housing from 2/3 of a city council or town meeting to a simple majority. And whereas municipalities in Greater Boston must create this new zoning ordinance or lose access to state infrastructure and housing grants, now therefore, be it resolved that the Waltham City Council creates such a zoning district which will streamline the creation of affordable housing and avoid losing access to infrastructure and housing state grants. Respectfully submitted, Thomas M. Stanley, Councilor at Large.
Thank you. Again, I didn't have time to put it together earlier, and I didn't want to wait another 2-week cycle. So, you know, this legislation was passed. It's something that each community has to do if we wish to continue to receive funding from the state with regards to infrastructure and housing grants. Now, the details of how it's going to be laid out and how what communities need to do to adopt the language has not been articulated yet from the Massachusetts Housing Agency. And I've reached out to them and asked them to let me know as soon as possible when that needs to occur. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, we already have multifamily housing districts, but we don't have them with a simple majority vote, which is the big change here. And we need to determine what area of Waltham, how large, how small we want, as a council, we want to have this district. Of course, it has to be within a half a mile, as resolution said, from public transportation. So it's something that has to be done. I wanted to get the ball rolling. And, you know, for anyone who's thinking, who might, I'm not suggesting my colleagues here, but anyone else that might not be thrilled about creating more affordable housing, just want to point out that, well, we need it in Waltham, number one, but the state legislation is, as you heard, requiring many communities in the greater Boston MBTA district area to do this as well. And many of the other communities are communities that really haven't done much of anything with regards to affordable housing. So the state legislation is actually requiring every community in this area to start to do their part. So as the details become available, I would provide them to, I assume, again, Mr. President, the Ordinance and Rules Committee. Thank you.
Matter referred to the Ordinance and Rules Committee. Clerk, continue with the next resolution.
Resolution, whereas housing is an important part of what makes Waltham a strong community and is an essential part of Waltham's future well-being, supplying homes that are affordable for longtime Waltham residents, young families, seniors, veterans, and local workers is an important part of maintaining the stability and diversity of our community. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic crisis have added both new urgency and added difficulty to addressing housing problems in Waltham. And whereas a major hurdle of creating affordable housing has been a limit of funding available. Now, therefore, be it resolved, post-pandemic, the city of Waltham allocate 5% of annual building permit fees to the Municipal Housing Trust Fund. Based on the last 10 years, this would dedicate roughly $340,000 annually to the Municipal Housing Trust Fund. And be it further resolved, post-pandemic, that the City Council adopt the community impact fee, 3% on short-term rentals, not hotels. By state law, 35% of this fee must be spent on affordable housing and/or public infrastructure. And be it further resolved that the City Council take a further vote as allowed by state law to allocate 100% of the CIF to the creation of affordable housing. Respectfully submitted, Thomas M. Stanley, Councilor at Large.
Councilor
So
Stanley.
again, I thank you. Again, this was one of the recommendations that came out of the Affordable Housing Ad Hoc Committee. And I do want to mention that Councilor Paz and Councilor Vidal were also members of the committee that helped to come up with the recommendations. And so a lot of the, obviously, creating affordable housing costs money. And Councilor Blank's resolution in particular would require money. And, you know, this would be a way, and I think these should be implemented post-pandemic, because we want the city to get through this period of restricted revenue growth before we start dedicating additional monies that normally go to the general fund. So, but once that happens, I think we should be ready to go and start on an annual basis, allocate 5% of the building department permits. And so this wouldn't be any additional money. It's money that's already collected, primarily from the business community and corporate America. That's where the big bucks are. And, you know, by dedicating this, allocating it to go directly to the Municipal Housing Trust Fund, which the mayor oversees, and city council has oversight authority with regards to spending. It would, all different types of affordable housing initiatives could be funded with this annual revenue stream. There's a few ways to do this. It's more for a discussion later. One is for a home rule petition. I think it's best if we don't do that, if the council agrees and the mayor agrees to allocate a certain amount of money each year, because that would it would be better for city finances moving forward. And I can explain that more in committee. To the second part, a very few communities have added on this community impact fee. And I'm not talking about, it's for short-term stays. It's not hotels. We already have a tax on that. It's for, you know, the home rentals and so forth. And City of Boston gets well over 100,000 a month from this. And obviously ours isn't going to be as much, but I was surprised when I looked into how many short-term rentals there are in Waltham. And again, people from Waltham are, you know, almost always not going to be renting short-term rentals in the city of Waltham. It'll be people from elsewhere that are coming here because their child may go to college, or here for work, or just to travel and for tourism and so forth, and they want that type of a setting instead of a hotel setting. They would be paying for that fee, and it would go through DOR to the city of Waltham. Now, by law, if we adopt this fee, 35% must go to affordable housing or transportation infrastructure. We can take another vote of the council to make sure that 100% of these funds do that, and I recommend that we do that as well. And I look forward to speaking with whichever committee the president deems fit. I imagine Finance Committee moving forward. Thank you.
Councilor Stanley, you said you want this matter referred to the Finance Committee or the Ordinance and Rules Committee?
I don't think it requires any ordinances, this resolution, so I would say Finance.
Okay, further matter of the Finance Committee. Clerk, continue. Committee reports.
Licenses and Franchises Committee recommends approval of the extended hours renewal for Protec Automotive and Tire Center, Inc., 205 Willow Street.
Council Vidal moves the action committee be the action of council. Roll call.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee, Kathy Ann Harris, Joseph P. LaCava,
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal,
Yes.
By your action, you have approved the matter. Clerk, continue. Council Vidal moves the act on the matters collectively 2 through 7. Lodging house license renewals for 4151 Brown Street, 2022 Adams Street, 4446 Chester Avenue, 118, 120 Robin Street, 2 Appleton Street, and 240 Crescent Street. On the motion to act on the matters collectively, all in favor say aye.
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 Oppose or object? There being none, Council Vidal moves the action committee to be the action of the council. Roll calls.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris,
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava, Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal.
Yes.
Matters. Clerk, continue with long-term debt capital plan.
Long-Term Debt and Capital Planning Committee recommends approval of a transfer of funds to fund the replacement of the sewer main on Kenmore Terrace.
Council Darcy moves the action committee to be the action of the council. Roll call.
Council, President Brasco, Council LaCava, recusing myself from this matter.
Let the record reflect the Council LaCava recuses himself with regards to this vote. Clerk, call the roll.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris,
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava is recused, Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal.
Yes.
By your action, you have approved of the loan authorization. Transfer of funds.
Excuse me, Mr. President,
Madam Vice President.
thank you for recognizing me. Two things. One, I don't know if anyone else is having the same issue that I'm having, but in my screen in Zoom participation, what I used to have at the bottom of my screen was the ability to raise my hand or lower my hand. I can't find that icon on the menu anymore. I'm not sure if others can or not, and I'm not sure why. Perhaps after this, the admin can give us some sort of idea of how to restore that. That's number one. Number two, I would like to, before we leave the Long-Term Debt and Capital Planning Committee, I would like to discharge a matter from that committee.
Okay, Madam Vice President, which matter would you like to discharge from committee?
So it would be the matter, and I don't have my committee docket, but it would be the matter related to the Waltham Armory.
Okay. Vice President McMahon makes a motion to take the matter from committee dealing with the Armory. On the motion to discharge the matter from committee. All in favor say aye.
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 Oppose or object? There being none, the matter is now on the city council floor. Council Vice President McMahon, you have the floor.
So thank you very much, Mr. President. So I've done some reading on the matter, and I'm looking at some larger issues than what we're able to affect in the Long-Term Debt Committee. So the mayor this past week sent a communication. The biggest issue here is that the entire city council is not receiving or getting the picture of the discussion, debate, dialogue on this matter that the Long-Term Debt Committee is receiving. And so that's why I asked to discharge it from committee, so that it could be at least the possibility of sending it to a different committee based on a better connection of time here. Because as you know, procedurally, if something goes from one committee to another committee, it can't go directly. It needs to be taken from that committee, sent to the full council, and then the full council needs to remand that to the committee of choice. So what I'm doing is trying to short circuit some time issues here by taking it out of committee here this evening. So anyway, the mayor has sent us, the long-term debt committee, several communications. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to try and put a couple of screens on my computer, and yeah, okay, so I have that here. So the mayor sent, as you know, the mayor sent a communication which came into us this evening. And that was sent to the long-term debt committee because it relates to the Armory. But on January 20th, 2021, the mayor sent a communication. She also sent a communication prior to that to the applicant and also the director of the CDC Watch in Waltham, explaining that the request of the applicant to the long-term debt committee for the appraisal of the Armory that was sent to the committee and to the applicant by the mayor, the total amount of the appraisal, which is much less than the appraisal that the applicant had. The mayor communicated that to the both of those entities, and in her communication said that she would not provide all of the details related to the, excuse me, to that appraisal, and that she didn't need to do that because should litigation ever take place, it would not be in the city's best interest. And what we're doing, what we're all trying to do here is trying to do our due diligence and accommodate this application for affordable housing. But at the same time, at least I, and I'm pretty sure everybody else is trying to protect the best interests of the city and the city's residents and taxpayers. So anyway, the communication that the mayor sent to us on January 20th of this past week states very clearly again that she expects and expected the applicant to provide an as-is appraisal. And so far that's not happened. So there seems to be a lot of discussion, discrepancy, et cetera here. This item requires a 2/3 vote, since it's a real estate matter, at some point, a 2/3 vote of the entire city council. And quite frankly, having only 5 and really only 4 members, because the chair of the committee, who can discuss and debate, who has that ability, but really it's the job of that chair is to run the meeting. It really only has a discussion by 4 members of the city council. So I'm willing to listen to other councilors, but I think that we need to perhaps send this to another committee, perhaps the committee of the whole, perhaps discuss it on the full council floor. But I think it needs to have a wider audience for discussion than it has right now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. First on my list is Councilor Vidal.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I happen to agree with Madam Dean regarding having this topic be discussed at a larger platform. And in this case, the larger platform will be Committee of the Whole, in my opinion. So I would like to make a motion to send this matter to the Committee of the Whole for the next week. So all 15 members of the council will have the opportunity to discuss, debate, and ask any questions about the Armory in this process. And also, I don't know if we can do it together, we'll also like to ask, to request that the clerk of the Long-Term Debt Committee, through the clerk's office, provide to the clerk of the Committee of the Whole and all its members any supporting documentation regarding the Armory.
On the motion to recommit, first Councilor Pass.
Yeah, I find this surprising, and I find it a bit troubling to hear the comments from Madam Vice President. What the mayor mentioned, it is the duty of the Long-Term Debt Committee to review CPA applications. And that's exactly what that committee is doing. Inform me otherwise, but what the mayor mentioned about a 2/3 vote, or what Madam Vice President mentioned about 2/3 vote, has not actually been substantiated. That is a matter, it's an application, which the city itself is not going to acquire the land. So that is not a fact. That's something that we still need to determine in committee. I am deferential to what the committee chair has to say about this, but I do think the committee is doing its due diligence. And quite frankly, we could have just made a request in committee to provide it to the rest of the council. The rest of the council is already going to see this matter as part of the process after we approve a matter in the long-term debt committee. The process is in place and it does involve the rest of the council. Everyone will have an opportunity to review all the material and make an informed opinion. It seems troubling that we need to somehow recommit this matter if it's somehow different from other matters that we've already handled. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Paz. First time around on the motion to recommit, Council Stanley.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I guess I'm fine with the going to, I mean, I agree with the previous councilors from Ward 9's, you know, comments that it has always gone to the long-term debt committee, and they're quite capable of dealing with this issue and discharging it to the full council. On the other hand, you know, oftentimes there's when there's great interest from other members, it behooves the council to put it in the committee of the whole so that we can go through everything once and hopefully get the vote. My concern is that it seems like people don't want this this project. Now, we all talk about supporting affordable housing in our community, and many of us have talked about that, you know, they would prefer to have permanent housing rather than paying taxpayer money for vouchers that are temporary. Well, this is permanent affordable housing, and it's not, you know, inexpensive, and it's a big reason why it's just not done. You know, private builders and developers are in the business of making money, and community development corporations, CDCs like Watch and its partner here, Metro West Housing, are in the business of creating affordable housing and facilitating that process, filling the niche that is not taking place in the regular market. I know, you know, Metro West was very reluctant to come back into Waltham to try to spend all their time in doing a project when they're having a lot of success in other communities and they could just assume go elsewhere. Now, Watch begged them to do this because of the great need in Waltham to partner here in Waltham. And, you know, I don't want to speak for anyone, but it seems like everyone's talking at each other, but not to each other. And I'm afraid they're just going to take up and walk away. And that may be what some people want. But we're supposed to be all for affordable housing, and we all agree there's a serious need. You know, they're getting from one message from the executive branch is, well, you know, it's not zoned for the type of appraisal that you put forward. Well, that's the type of appraisal is what they will try to get it zoned for, to create this affordable housing. Otherwise, the project doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. And it's like, okay, so should we send the message that we would support this, but get the permits approved first? I mean, we can certainly put restrictions on CPC money appropriations that we get the money back. You know, there's no problem with that. They're not going to be, the money can only be spent for this project if they get the zone changes to do it. Otherwise, they can't use the money elsewhere. And if they were to try to use the money on something else, the organizations could no longer exist. So I just hope that, you know, we have an opportunity here to create some affordable housing, permanent affordable housing. One resolution tonight that I signed on to was talking about, you know, buying a property here or there, and I'm not sure. I mean, I don't support the city of Waltham controlling them, and my idea of signing on to that resolution would be to then put it into third party hands, like a CDC, like Watch or something else, to manage it, because the city should not be in permanent real estate business. And that's just going to be, and that's good, because it can help improve the housing stock. But it's not going to be as big a, you know, we could do more bang for our buck with this property, which is just vacant. And what the time it would take, probably what, 10, 15, 20 years or more to get the same amount of housing accomplished that we could do in this one shot, permanent affordable housing. So those are my thoughts. If we're not serious as a body, you know, and as a city, we should just tell them, you know, publicly or privately, that we're not going to do this, so we can all stop wasting all of our time. Or, you know, I hope we can find a way to make it work. And that's my hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Stanley. First time around on the motion to recommit. Council Dawson.
Thank you very much. Just hold on for 1 second here. Yeah, I'm opposed, at least at this point in time, I'm opposed to moving this matter to the committee of the whole. Our committee, our long-term debt committee, has just begun deliberating on this matter. In fact, we invited the mayor into this Monday's meeting a week from today. Every counselor in this council is invited to attend and contribute to the deliberation of this matter in long-term debt. And furthermore, it's not clear to me whether or not we need 8 votes or 10 votes, as the city in this instance won't be holding the land. And there's other questions related to the appraisals, the as-is versus the proposed redevelopment. So in that sense, I hope this motion fails, and then I hope to get the floor back so I can invite, because we have the mayor coming in next Monday, I'd like to include also a representative of our law department in the housing department to answer all the questions that the committee members might have on this matter. So that's my 2 cents. And if you could come back to me after this motion so I could make a motion to add the law department in next week. Thank you.
Okay. Next on my list, there isn't anybody. On the motion by Councilor Vidal to recommit this matter.
Can I ask for roll call, please, Mr. President?
Yes, we do have to take a roll call on this. So roll call on the motion to recommit this matter to the committee of the whole.
George A. Darcy III.
No.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava.
No.
Anthony LaFosse.
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin.
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin.
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin.
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien.
Yes.
Jonathan Paz.
No.
Thomas M. Stanley. Carlos A. Vidal.
Yes.
Your action, you have If the clerk would declare the vote.
I have 10 in favor of recommitting, Mr. President, 3 opposed, and 1 inaudible.
The motion to recommit carries and the matter is recommitted to the committee of the whole. Clerk, continue.
Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Darcy.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to invite a representative of the Law Department and the Housing Department in to the Committee of the Whole now to accompany the mayor that was coming into the long-term debt. So actually all 3 people, the mayor, the housing director, and a representative of the Law Department to come to speak with the Committee of the Whole on this matter.
You've all heard a sense of the request. On the request? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose or object?
Thank you, Mr.
There
President.
being none, the request is approved of. Clerk, continue with
Mr. President, point of information.
Councilor Fosse.
That motion included getting all the information from the committee so that we can get up to speed prior to the committee of the whole, correct?
That is correct. That was what Councilor Vidal had requested. All
That would
15 members of the body have all the information that was given to the long-term debt committee.
All right, thank you.
Point of information, Mr. President?
Councilor Harris.
Thank you. Is there a site visit through you, Mr. President, to the clerk of the committee? Is there a site visit for this property that is scheduled, or has it occurred, or is it going to occur? Could you answer
I don't
that?
believe the Councilor Harris, I don't believe the clerk of the committee is on the line now. And if the assistant city clerk had spoken earlier with regards, I believe the council from Ward 9 had asked what time that may have been, and I don't believe it was ever posted. So therefore it should not take place if it has not been posted. If the assistant city clerk could just address that for a moment. If,
Chairman Darcy's here. He might know more about this than I do. I have not been involved with this.
the chair of the long-term debt committee be aware of the site view visit that has been scheduled?
Yes, I am. I emailed the members of the long-term debt committee about a half an hour ago to inform them that I have canceled the site visit at the Waltham Armory tomorrow morning because the public meeting was not posted.
Okay. So Councilor Dodd.
So in just so I can answer you fully, I've asked the clerk to reschedule the site visit for later this week or next week. But it has to be posted 48 hours before the site visit.
That is correct,
Thank you,
Councilor.
Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Darcy, through Mr. President, to you. Is it possible to have additional members other than the long-term debt committee, since it's coming before the committee of the whole? Point of information, could this be opened up to the full council to allow anybody who wants to attend that site visit also attend?
No, Councilor, now that this has to be a motion or a request of the city council for the entire body of the committee of the whole. So though it was in the long-term debt committee prior, it is now in the committee of the whole, and any site visit has to be voted on, approved of by the full body of the city council.
Thank you, Mr. President. So to clarify, point of information, in order to have additional councilors attend the next site visit, a request would need to be made at the committee of the whole. Is that correct, Mr. President?
That is correct, Councilor.
Thank you very much. Nothing further. Thank you, Councilor Darcy.
Thank you, councilors. Clerk, continue with committee of the whole.
The committee of the whole recommends confirmation of the reappointment of Paul L. Millette of 160 Hardy Pond Road, Waltham, as a constable.
The committee, the action of council, roll call is required.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris,
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava,
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley, Carlos A. Vidal,
Yes.
13 in favor.
Tom Stanley, yes.
All right, 14 in favor, Mr. President.
By your action, you have approved the appointment of Mr. Millette. Clerk, continue with number 2.
Committee of the Whole recommends approval of the reappointment of Robert P. Millian Jr. of 16 Biter Avenue, Waltham as a constable.
Vice President McMenamin moves the Action Committee, the Action Council, roll call support.
George A. Darcy III.
Yes.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
yes,
Joseph P. LaCava.
yes,
Anthony LaFauci.
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc.
yes,
Christine A. Mackin.
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin.
yes,
Kathleen B. McMenamin.
yes,
Patrick J. O'Brien.
Yes.
Jonathan Paz.
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley.
yes,
Carlos A. Vidal.
yes,
14 in favor, none opposed.
By your action, you have approved of the appointment of Ms. Millian. Clerk, continue with number 3.
Committee of the Whole recommends that the matter of the open meeting law complaint be discharged to the full city council.
The committee, the Action of the Council, roll call.
George A. Darcy III.
Yes.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
yes,
Joseph P. LaCava.
yes,
Anthony LaFauci.
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc.
yes,
Christine A. Mackin.
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin.
yes,
Kathleen B. McMenamin.
yes,
Patrick J. O'Brien.
Yes.
Jonathan Paz.
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley.
yes,
Carlos A. Vidal.
yes.
14 in favor, none opposed.
Miss-
Mr. President, on that matter.
Madam Vice President, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I would like to request that the clerk integrate the item that we're going to see below, the tabled item of executive session minutes of January 27, 2020, anticipated litigation. That refers to 554 Lexington Street, so that when the Committee of the Whole's recommendation that the open meeting law complaint go back onto the full council, and it's tabled on the full council floor, I'm asking that the clerk integrate the executive session minutes of January 27th anticipated litigation into that matter. So there'll be a matter from which we can take it when the time properly comes. Thank you.
Okay, Vice President McMenamin, you're looking to combine the matters dealing with 554 Lexington
I
Street
am.
on the council floor, on the council docket.
Yes, thank you. I am.
On the motion, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose or reject? There being none, the matters will be integrated.
Mr. President, this is Councilor at Large Carlos Vidal. I had last week, a committee of the whole, I made a request to Madam Dean, Vice President, regarding the documents that went along with all the executive minutes from the Stigmatine property meetings. And she asked me to submit a formal request to you tonight. So when the minutes are released and the ones that have been released, these documents and exhibits will be released as well. I have submitted a written request for this to take place. I'm going to read this to you right now.
Councilor Vidal, you have the floor, so you're making a request with regards to the committee of the whole minutes.
Correct.
554 Lex.
Correct. In accordance with the letter from the Massachusetts Attorney General dated December 4th, 2020, regarding the open meeting law complaint and stated on page 5 of this document, I would like to make a request to the mayor's office and the city clerk's office to release all exhibits and or documents that were presented during the executive sessions that relate to the Stigmatine property meetings. I have submitted this in writing for the clerk and for you and the Madam Vice President, so you guys have a copy of that as well.
Okay, you've all heard a sense of request. On the request? All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose or object? There being none, the request is approved. Thank you, Councilor Vidal.
Thanks.
Clerk, continue with the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends acceptance of a donation of a 1929 photo for the City Hall Museum Room from Mary Ellen and Kevin Ryan.
Councilor LaCava makes motion, moves the Action Committee, the Action Council, roll call.
George A. Darcy III.
Yes.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
yes,
Joseph P. LaCava, Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal,
Yes.
13 in favor, one inaudible. None
Your action is
opposed.
approved, Madam Clerk. Can you continue with number 2?
Finance Committee recommends acceptance of a donation of $300 from the New Light Korean Church in appreciation of the Waltham Fire Department.
Council LaCava moves the action committee, the action of the council. Roll call.
George A. Darcy III.
Yes.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
yes,
Joseph P. LaCava.
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse.
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin.
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin.
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin. Patrick J. O'Brien.
Yes.
Jonathan Paz.
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley.
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal.
Yes.
13 in favor, one inaudible.
By your action, you have approved the matter. Clerk, continue with number 3.
Finance Committee
Excuse me, I'm sorry, am I the inaudible?
You were,
Oh,
Counselor.
I said yes. I thought I was on here. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee recommends approval of an appropriation transfer in the amount of $2,700 for an appraisal of 0 Prospect Hill Road, Waltham.
Council LaCava moves the action committee, the action of the council. Roll call.
George A. Darcy III.
Yes.
Karen Dunn.
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee.
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris.
yes,
Joseph P. LaCava.
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse.
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin.
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin.
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin.
Yes,
Patrick J. O'Brien.
Yes.
Jonathan Paz.
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley.
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal.
Yes.
14 in favor, none opposed.
By your action, you have approved the matter. Clerk, continue with unfinished business and other business.
Communication from Philip B. McCourt Esquire requesting an extension of time to complete work regarding special permit order number 33403, BP 99 3rd Avenue LLC.
Refer to the Ordinance and Rules Committee.
Late file communication, public records requests for executive session minutes and appraisals regarding the UMass Field Station and farm property.
Motion to accept the late file communication. The motion to accept the late file communication. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Oppose or object? There being none, as we were made aware today by the executive branch, the mayor had stated that this matter is still not finalized. So this matter will be laid on the table here of the city council floor, and the city clerk will respond to the individual who has requested the minutes. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
I will follow the directive of the city council, Mr. President.
point of order, Mr. President.
Madam Vice President?
I do believe I saw in my email at some point from the time I heard about this request earlier, when I was speaking to the clerk's office, that the mayor has responded and said in writing that the sale of the UMass land is not complete. Am I right, Mr. Clerk?
That is correct. That is correct, Counselor.
So I don't know how you wish to proceed, but basically that's what she told us. The sale is not complete. Therefore, the requests I think that Mr. Melnichuk are asking for are not able to be given to him. But I will go along with whatever the council decides to ask the clerk to communicate to him.
Madam Vice President, that is what we believed that the clerk would advise the individual in question that this matter is not finalized and that those minutes would not be released until it was.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted it on the record. I wanted to make sure that the public heard from us that the sale has not been complete yet. Thank you.
So is it your request then, Madam Vice President, to lay this matter on the table of the city council floor?
No, my request, you can go forward, the clerk can go forward and notify Mr. Melnichuk. I just wanted the public at large to understand that we have not completed the sale of the UMass property yet.
Okay.
Thank you. According to
being
the
s-
mayor, according to the mayor.
Madam Vice President, thank you. Mr. Clerk, if you'd advise the individual that this matter is still obviously being discussed and that we do not have the authority right now to release the minutes with regards to this. And this matter shall be removed from the city council docket.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Clerk, continue with table items. Wish of the committee with regards to the tabled items.
Mr. President, I'd like to take off of the docket from the table, the loan authorization of 1.6 million for Prospect Hill Park improvements.
Councilor Darcy makes a motion to take from the table the 1.6 million for Prospect Hill improvements. On the motion to take from the table, all in favor say aye.
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 Those who object? There being none, Councilor Darcy, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. As this matter was properly advertised after the first reading on December 28th, we can move forward for the second reading. So that being said, I know that people have been waiting a long time for the work at Prospect Hill, and they're very happy with the funds that will be spent on the park for the playground equipment and the signage. So being that as it may, I move for the second reading to be approved.
Councilor Darcy makes a motion for approval of the second and final reading of the $1.6 million for Prospect Hill improvements. On the motion, roll call.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris,
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava,
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
Yes,
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal,
Yes.
14 in favor, none opposed.
By your action, you have approved of the matter, the second and final reading. Clerk, continue. Wish of the committee with
Could
regards
I
to the
take-
next.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilor Darcy, you have the floor.
Mr. President, thank you very much. So this is the second loan authorization for $375,000, again, for the Prospect Hill improvements. We had the reading in the first reading and the advertisement, and now we're ready for the next. And just before we vote on it, I'd just like to thank the mayor, the Recreation Department, and also the Ward 1 councilor that all have worked on this project. So I move for approval of the second reading.
Councilor Darcy makes a motion for a second and final reading of the matter. On the motion for approval with the second and final reading, roll call.
George A. Darcy III,
Yes.
Karen Dunn,
Yes.
Sean T. Durkee,
Yes.
Kathy Ann Harris,
Yes.
Joseph P. LaCava,
Yes.
Anthony LaFosse,
Yes.
Randall J. LeBlanc,
Happily, yes.
Christine A. Mackin,
Yes.
John J. McLaughlin,
Very happily, yes.
Kathleen B. McMenamin,
3 times happily, yes.
Patrick J. O'Brien,
Happily, yes.
Jonathan Paz,
Yes.
Thomas M. Stanley,
Yes.
Carlos A. Vidal,
Yes.
14 happy votes in favor, none opposed.
Great. Hate to have unhappy votes for a matter like that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Darcy. Before we adjourn, we've come to the end of our agenda. There's only informational purposes, which everybody's had in their packet under Rule 58, communication from the traffic engineer dated January 21st, 2021. But before we conclude this evening's events, I'd like to recognize Council McLaughlin from Ward 4, who I believe had just a recent appointment to a Mass Municipal Board. So Councilor McLaughlin, you tell us exactly what you have been appointed
Thank you, Mr. President. I've served in the past on the policy committee for transportation and infrastructure, but I was nominated and elected to the board of directors representing the Councils Association last week. So thank you for that.
Congratulations to you. We appreciate your willingness to serve there as well.
Thank you.
Wish of the committee with regards to the city council business of Monday, January 25th, 2021 remote.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Which councilor?
Councilor LeBlanc?
Councilor Blank makes a motion to adjourn. On the motion to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
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 Or object? Waltham City Council stands in adjournment at 8:49 PM. Good week, councilors.
Thank you, Mr. President.